Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! My dad, 55 male, has always had lots of disposable income and lives comfortably on it, but has always been very stingy when it comes to things like giving gifts. He also never offers to give money to help with anything. In contrast, he will ask for expensive items for himself and not be grateful for having gotten them. I've often ended up getting them for him anyway because that's the sort of person I am. But last year it pissed me off so much this time I've only sent him a card. The year before last I got him an expensive aftershave that he asked me to get him even though it was over £100. I'm a nurse and don't even earn a lot of money, but with help of my savings got him it anyway. In return, I received something like £20 tucked into a Christmas card and some supermarket items like chocolate and scents. I've never commented about this in comparison. Last year, he asked me for a pair of designer sunglasses, which were even more expensive, citing an exact brand, style, and color. I managed to get a really good Black Friday deal and ordered them, at least the ones I thought he was asking me for. He simply called me up after and said those weren't the sunglasses I wanted. He didn't even say thank you, and I was really hurt. My 30th birthday passed and I only got a birthday card, nothing inside, and no gifts, not even a bunch of flowers. This year I decided I'd have enough of spending lots of money on him and it never been appreciated, and getting the bare minimum on a milestone birthday. I feel bad, but I feel like I shouldn't keep being so generous every year when it isn't reciprocated. And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong. Gift giving should be something that makes both of you happy. The giver because there is joy in giving someone deserving something that makes them happy. The receiver because ideally they got something they were wishing for. It shouldn't be a chore. Your father sounds awful, so you made the right decision. You're not in the wrong. For every action there is a reaction. This is exactly what is happening here. It's not even really a tit-for-tat thing. It's more you get to that point where you can't be bothered with other people's nonsense. Especially family members. Next time he sends you an exact gift request, make sure to send him one back and make it good. He will soon stop asking. You're not in the wrong. Honestly, in my experience, some people are just weird this way and they will never learn to be appreciative. You're better off setting a new percent sooner than later. There may be some gripping and such at first, but eventually, it's the new normal. If they can't see the part they played in a change, it is not on you. My husband, 35, and I, 34 female, have been together since high school and married for 4 years. We had our daughter Annie young, but unfortunately, she passed away 11 years ago shortly before her 6th birthday. She would have been 17 this year. Around the time of her death, I was also informed that I would never be able to have children again. There is no real explanation for this. It's just unexplained infertility and I just can't have any more kids. This, along with the death of my little girl, absolutely wrecked me and my husband. We tried absolutely everything over the years to have another child. IVF never took with or without a donor. We thought perhaps we could fall pregnant naturally, as sometimes infertility doesn't always last, but it didn't happen. Surrogacy didn't work. We even attempted adoption and got really close, but the birth mother changed her mind. All of this has mentally destroyed us and we have ultimately decided that it's clearly not meant to be, and having another child wouldn't measure against the loss of losing our daughter, as we just want her back more than anything. We grieve Annie even though it's been 11 years. We always go to her grave on her birthday and the date of her passing. There are pictures of her in our house and we talk about her just to keep her memory alive. I'll never get over this as a mother, but my point is, we are not knee-deep in deep grief like we used to be, but we still miss her terribly. Anyway, it was recently what would have been Annie's 17th birthday. My mother-in-law asked if it would be okay to have a little gathering to celebrate Annie after we visited her grave, and my husband and I were touched by this. My sister-in-law, husband's sister, and her partner were there too along with my father-in-law. I've always got along with them all, and it was a nice day until my sister-in-law announced she is pregnant with her first child. She said she's a few months along and they are having a girl. We all congratulated her, and she then said that finally, the focus can be on their granddaughter and we can all forget as she's gone and that we need to focus on the living. She further added that it's been 11 years and we needed to let it go and accept she's gone. I was so upset. I burst into tears and my husband was just disgusted. We ended up leaving early and I told the family in a group chat that we are disgusted with what the sister-in-law said and that we want an apology. She refused, so I told her to rot in hell, and my husband and I both agreed that we never want her around us again if she can be that spiteful. Both of us are so upset by this, and it's being made worse because his parents are saying that we're being too reactive and that we need to have a mature decision with sister-in-law instead of cutting her off. Father-in-law said sister-in-law didn't mean what she said or that it came out wrong, and father-in-law is blaming it on the hormones. And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong, but everyone else is. Your in-laws hijacked the celebration of Annie's life and made it a peppy announcement. Then your sister-in-law made about the most obtuse comment one could possibly imagine. I've never grieved the loss of a child, but it's something that never goes away completely. And then your mother-in-law and father-in-law defend her instead of you and your husband? Jerks. The whole lot. You probably won't get an apology and would be better off without them. Oh, and how soon before your sister-in-law announces that she's going to name her daughter Annie? It is pretty odd that your sister-in-law, who you have always gotten along with, and who you don't say has shown any signs of being an awful person to this point, would suggest 1. Make such an ill-timed pregnancy announcement, and 2. Double down on it with those nasty comments. Have you presented this conflict honestly? You're not in the wrong for the situation as presented, but it sounds a little cartoon villainish. You're not in the wrong. Sister-in-law used the get-together to honor your daughter to announce her pregnancy. Sister-in-law then proceeded to try and tell you to get over something that you likely will never get over, and it's still a very sensitive topic for you and your husband. Hormones or not, sister-in-law was very much in the wrong here, and should apologize. Maybe once sister-in-law has a child of her own and husband's family can't use hormones as an excuse, you should give sister-in-law a come to our savior moment, and hopefully she'll understand how evil and vile what she said really was. ATA. I'm guessing that yes, sister-in-law did probably hijack the celebration of my daughter's birthday, but I didn't even mind that. I thought it was wonderful when she said she's having a baby, and I was excited about becoming an aunt until she said what she said. As for naming her baby Annie too, she already has a name which also mentioned before her vile comments, and it's along the lines of flower themes such as Daisy, Lily, and so on. ATA number 2. Sister-in-law was more like a distant aunt to Annie and didn't really hang out with her much, but was never cruel or anything. She also doesn't have any interest when we talk about her, but I always put that down to her not having much of a relationship with Annie. Entirely her choice, not mine. She was always great to me and my husband, so I don't know why she was so different from Annie. We've always gotten along, and yes, I found it frustrating that she didn't really know her niece, but I always put it down to her not caring much for children or anything. For the longest time she was adamant she would never have children, so maybe that contributed to it before she got pregnant. I, 30 female, practically raised my 8-year-old nephew and love him as my own. My sister, 28 female, used to work far away, so she had to leave him at my mother's care when he was a baby. 3 years ago, she found a job and house nearby, but my nephew still spends his weekdays in my place and only goes at my sister's place during the weekends. My nephew tends to be careless with everyone's stuff, but he's especially careless with mine. I think because he's closest to me and has no restrictions, he has already broken 2 phones, 2 eyeglasses, 1 laptop and so many other stuff. I chalk it up to him being a kid and therefore never gets mad. But when he turned 8, I started teaching him about boundaries. That when I tell him something is hands off, then he must not play with it. A concept he's really having a hard time with. Yesterday I saw him fiddling with the contact lenses I just bought the other day. I told him it's a hands off because I will need to wear it for an office party later, and that I wouldn't have any backup because he just broke my eyeglasses. An hour before the party, all I have to do is wear my contact lenses. Et voila, it's missing. When I asked my nephew, he admitted to having dropped it. We looked for it to no avail, and I ended up not being able to go to the office party. This is the only time I got really mad. I got mad that he didn't even listen to me for the millionth time, and that he didn't even bother picking it up after dropping it, because to me that shows his lack of respect to me. Sure, I can buy a new pair again just like what I've done several times in the past, but I really wanted to teach him a lesson about boundaries and respect, and in my perspective, the best way to do so is to show him the consequences. So I dropped him to his mom afterwards and told both of them that he will be banned at my place until they replace either the contact lens he lost or the eyeglasses he broke. My sister does not agree with my method, saying I'm being pity for getting mad over it and she would rather spend money on food. My mother thinks I'm being harsh considering it will be Christmas soon, and that my nephew is still too young to understand what I'm trying to teach him here. I felt I was right, but now I am not sure. Am I in the wrong for banning my 8-year-old nephew to teach him about consequences, considering that it will be Christmas soon? And now for some comments. Everyone sucks. First off, 8 years old is old enough to understand the basics of what is a toy and what is not. Someone has failed in teaching him this. And while I understand you are not the parent, but you are an adult, and you know his track record, and should have taken steps to just take the lenses away from him. His mother should also take responsibility and if not pay all, then some of the values of what he breaks. And the kid desperately needs to learn there are consequences to his actions. Though banning him is a bit overkill because neither the mother or you have the guts to give him a form of punishment. Like a timeout corner, no game time, do some extra chores. You haven't mentioned anything about any punishment, only a command word that apparently is not enforced or punished. So he will never truly learn. This is in the case of spilling some milk. He's physically destructive, and it will become a problem eventually if it's not addressed sooner than later. Everyone sucks. You're all doing a pretty poor job of raising this kid. He should have been taught not to mess with other people's stuff as soon as he was able to get to it. You say you've let things go until he was 8. Way too long. No wonder he thinks it's fine to break stuff, if it always has been fine. You and your sister and your mother and any other responsible adult in this kid's life need to get your act together. Update. Thank you to all who gave their feedback. I just talked to my nephew and he agreed to write a whole page essay to reflect about his actions and to wash the plates at home for 2 weeks to pay for what he lost. I agree that banning him from my place might be too harsh, but to clarify, it isn't like I didn't try to talk to him or discipline gently when he was younger. His habit has mellowed down towards other people's stuff, but not towards mine, which I conclude is because of his total lack of fear of me. I am not fond of punishments or discipline by fear because I grew up in that kinda environment. I think I want to be his security blanket because I didn't have one growing up, but it can be a struggle to balance things out. Appreciate all those who gave their advice. I, male 20, turned 20 recently and celebrated my birthday surrounded only by friends. The reason is that the birthday I had to spend with my family was always terrible. I hate being the center of attention at social gatherings. It makes me extremely uncomfortable. I always plead with my parents to keep the celebration small and casual or not do anything at all. But my father, who was always the one who did everything, never listened. My mom just tagged along. I ended up miserable because the reason we had to celebrate, according to my father, was because people wanted to celebrate me and refusing would make them sad and think I wouldn't want to see them, which isn't true. I think the people he invited are all great, but I'd rather spend time with them on a normal day where we could act naturally. My father said I had to pretend to be happy even if I was sick, tired, or in a bad mood, which I definitely would be. Or else I would ruin the day for everyone else and everyone I loved would start to resent me for rejecting them when they wanted to show me their love. 2 years ago I moved out and now live with my grandmother, and I'm in very low contact with my father due to the stuff he pulled when I was still living with him. I'm in therapy now and getting better. The interactions with my father are more like between neighbors and father and son. And I think we never had such a pleasant relationship before. I have a friend who was born the same day as me and we celebrate our birthday now together. And I never had any idea how wholesome birthday celebrations can be when your boundaries are respected. For my birthdays, my father would always pick a chocolate cake with Smarties. Last year he came and gave it to me and I took it because I didn't want to hurt his feelings as it was a nice gesture, but ended up feeding it to only my friends and not eating a bite of it myself. Just looking at it brings back the bad memories in. I definitely didn't want to eat it because I might have thrown up. I felt tense just carrying it and only could breathe out when it disappeared. This year I wanted to be able to enjoy myself completely, so when my father wanted to give me the cake again, I politely reclined, said while I appreciate the gesture, I do not want any cake, and suggested he and my mother should just eat it instead. And this is where I might be the jerk. My mother's co-workers' kids helped with picking and decorating the cake and put a lot of effort into it. Today they asked my mother excitedly how I liked the cake and she told them that I rejected it, and she and my father ate it instead. The kids were very upset and sad and I feel guilty because it's just a cake and I could have given it to my friends instead again. It's a tasty chocolate cake, I just don't like it because of the memories. And they only meant well. So Reddit, am I in the wrong here? Your mother and father could have easily lied and said you enjoyed it. They purposely chose to indirectly punish you by unnecessarily dragging those poor kids into the drama. I can see why you wanted to go low contact with your family. You're not in the wrong. How are you supposed to know the mom's co-worker's kids baked you a cake? What is up with a super dramatic manipulative crap from your parents? He rejected your cake. It seems like they are deliberately trying to cause hard feelings, honestly. If your parents had enough respect for you, they ask for your opinion on how you want to celebrate your birthday, they would have known you didn't want a cake and the whole issue would have never happened. You are not in the wrong. Quote, they only meant well. No, they didn't mean well. If they truly meant well, they would respect your boundaries and not giving you a cake that rips open old wounds. They are still trying to control you and make you cater to their whims. I also doubt those kids do actually exist. Why the hell would kids you don't even know care a rat's fart about your birthday cake? I call nonsense on that one. Added drama to make you feel bad again for not doing what they want. Your birthday is about you, about what makes you happy. People who ignore your wishes and needs on your own birthday so they can have what they want are not meaning well. They are cruel and selfish. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.